Welcome into our Saints post-game show alongside John DeShazer, Super Bowl champ Scott Shanley. I'm Aaron Summers. The Saints dropped this one 15-12 to the Philadelphia Eagles, fall to 2-1 on the season. We talked a lot about what was going to happen to this team when they faced adversity, and they faced a lot of it today. JD, let's start with what happened on the first drive of the game with center Erik McCoy going out with injury.
Well, it kind of wrecks what you want to do offensively. I think you're talking about the best interior linemen, and as Scott was saying, their defensive tackles really wrecked the game plan, and Erik McCoy being out had a lot to do with that. Saints couldn't really run the ball, didn't protect Derek Carr much up the middle. It was a difficult day for the offensive line.
We know that this Philadelphia team had struggled to stop the run in their first two games. Today, not the case.
Yeah.
What did you see that was different?
Well, I think, I'm going to say that their two D tackles really controlled the name of the game. And obviously, just like John said, when you lose McCoy, who's one of your most veteran offensive linemen, been your most stellar player consistently over the years, that's a big ask when you start shuffling along the offensive line. And I think those guys, their presence in the middle made us run horizontally, get outside the framework of the defense, and then they were pushing the pocket on any play action pass. So those shots that we were looking for Rashid deep that we'd seen the past 2 weeks didn't have enough time because they were pressing the pocket so much. So a lot of credit goes to those two guys on their defensive front, but like to your point, they were giving up almost 7 yards per play the first 2 weeks. That didn't happen today. They did a good job of limiting the explosive plays.
An area that the Saints did very well in was defensively for themselves, especially in situations where they had to get a stop or make a big play. It took until about the end of the game, fourth quarter, where things started to fall apart a little bit. But how did you like the response by the defense?
Well, I think the defense played great, but I mean, you're on the field that many plays. At some point in time, there might just be a little bit of slippage. Probably had a couple of assignment misses, and then on the last play, the long pass to Goddard had a physical mess up where guys ran into each other. And if you're on the field that many plays, something bad, unfortunately, is bound to happen at some point.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get to Dennis Allen, who's at the podium now.
And we had our opportunities. I don't think we played, obviously as well on offense as we had played the first 2 weeks. Give their defense credit. Defensively, we just gave up too many explosive plays, and that was really the key to the game is the explosive plays that we gave up, and really kind of our inability to move the ball offensively.
What happened on that last explosive?
We ran it into each other. We kind of knew that was the guy that they were going to try to throw the ball to. We had a double on him, and we just ran into each other and created an explosive play. And so, it's disappointing.
Dennis, how difficult is it to contain your quarterback? You've gotten him 4 times today.
Yeah, I think it's extremely hard. I mean, he's a heck of an athlete, really good football player, makes it challenging on every single down. And I thought he executed well today. Yeah, I mean it's big blow. I think he's an important part to our offensive line and the way that we play up front, and so that was difficult to lose him. And yet, it's part of the game, and we've got to be able to step up and be able to, still play an acceptable level when we lose guys like that.
How many adjustments do you have to make in particular when you lose the center? Is that a bigger deal? Just even taking away how good a player he is. Is that particular position?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's difficult, both from a mental standpoint and that guy, making sure we're getting in, onto the right people and doing the right things, and not to mention the fact that he's probably one of our better players on our offensive line. So I think that was certainly a factor in the game, and yet, we have to be able to still perform.
Dennis, was Goddard in some ways sort of the recipient of something's got to give when you have to pay that much attention to a run game like that?
Yeah, I think in particular early on in the game, but I think as the game wore on, we had a couple of calls to try to take him away, and we just didn't do a good enough job of doing that, So we'll learn from it and we'll improve from it.
And when you say you thought he was the guy on that play, you just meant in the game they've been trying to give get it to him, or you recognize something on that specific play that you thought was good?
Well, no, I think, as the game went on, I felt like they were trying to find ways to get him the ball, in particular after Devontae Smith went out of the game. I thought that was the guy they were trying to get the ball to.
And then how about on the 65-yard touchdown run? What did you there?
I'm going to have to look at the tape to see exactly what happened on that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the kid made a great run, and once he got into space, he's a hard guy to catch, a hard guy to get down.
Going for it on that fourth down, is that just seeing a chance to put the game away, maybe?
Yeah, it was trying to win the game, and I felt like, we need to be able to get a yard.
Did you just, on that specific play, did you get word that if it doesn't work, you're doing this not on that?
Well, it's technically a turnover, so you can't challenge. So New York looked at it, and it stayed.
They said a good offensive rhythm to start the game, then after that kind of got bogged down. Did they make adjustments, or what do you do?
Listen, I think they did a good job. I think, when you look at it, I think they did a better job up front than we did, and I think that's really where it started. Again, that's a good football team that we played today. I mean, it's a team that was, in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they started the season out 10-1 last year. So it's a good team. They beat us today. We got to regroup and get ready for Atlanta.
Is that kind of why the run game didn't have as much success as you guys hoped for, just the trenches?
Yeah, I think it starts up there, and so, I think as you, get back in and you watch the tape, we'll have a better feel for exactly, what the issues were. I don't think we were as good from an assignment standpoint across the board today. I think we made too many mistakes, and when you play a good team and you make mistakes, they take advantage of it, and I thought they did that today.
Is Taysom close to going today?
Yeah, look, we ended up deciding, to rule him out. I'm hopeful that he'll be ready to go next week.
Is Derek hurt? He looked like he was limping and being
Yeah, it looked like he took a shot on the last play, but I didn't get any report from the trainers on him.
Was Mario dealing with something that you guys saw him on the field on that?
Yeah, there at the end of the game, he had a little, whether hamstring or groin tightness.
Dennis, how do you think your team responded to the adversity that it faced in this game since it was the first time all season?
Well, I'd say not good enough. And yet we gave ourselves some chances. We just didn't. They just executed better than we did. So we'll have to get ready to make some corrections and get ready for Atlanta.
And when you say obviously you got to get a yard to win the game in that play, I mean, does the ineffectiveness of the run game and the injuries to McCoy and Caesar weigh in on you at all, or you say it's a yard, we got to get that?
Yeah, I think we got to get a yard. I don't think that weighed into the decision one way or the other. And like I said, I think they just executed better than we did. Okay, guys, thanks.
That was head coach Dennis Allen talking after the loss to the Eagles here. And defense was brought up a couple times, and he said they did a really good job for 3/4 of the game, and then they allow 15 points in the fourth quarter, which eventually does give Philly the lead there. They came up big with interceptions, sacks, fourth down stops. how did they just kind of, get worn down as the game went on?
Yeah, you sense it when you play that way throughout a game. You can play 4 quarters that way, but you have this bend but don't break mentality. And it seemed like after the Saquon Barkley long run, that was kind of the breaking point. And then the explosive plays started to happen after that. You look at the Goddard catch at the end of the game that led to them winning the game. But up to that point, you saw the Eagles staying on the field and maintaining drives, but they weren't getting points. And they were having explosive plays. As soon as you start giving up explosive plays and those lead to points, it is hard to come back when your offense is struggling like the Saints were for most of the day. But this game was points were at a premium, and I was really surprised at how many field goal situations there were that were turned down throughout the game as well. And the last thing about that is a lot of times in this league, you don't win the turnover battle and usually lose games. That was surprising to me because there were a lot of opportunities. The Saints defense played phenomenal for most of the game. It was really, you take away 2 plays in this game and you win the game, but that's the NFL.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a couple of those 4th down attempts where you were in field goal range. The Eagles were in the red zone twice and opt to go for it on 4th down and get stops. Tyran Mathieu comes up with an interception in the end zone. Chase Young ends up with a big tackle for a 4th down stop there. So, and then, I don't know, you opt for those big plays, be aggressive, try to go for 7 instead of 3, but how did you feel about those decisions?
Well, I think if you look at it from the Eagles' perspective, they've been known as this big analytics team where they're looking at it. It's a low-scoring game. If we can just get 7 on the board, we can take over this game. But that hadn't been happening because the Saints defense was playing so well. You talk about Tyran's takeaway down here in the end zone, huge play, and then they just refused to kick field goals throughout the game until the end. And they're like, hey, let's try this 60-yarder and give the Saints the ball at midfield. So there were a lot of bad coaching decisions when it came to special teams in today's game. But I think this was the first game you didn't see the Saints. When you're just talking about us, didn't play complementary football. It was one of those times where you didn't get the running game going the way you wanted. They were taking away the deep shots downfield. We talked about their inside pressure. And so when that happened, you kind of went into a funk a little bit and you didn't find anything to get your way out of that. And then the last thing, the Eagles just made the plays when they had to make the plays most, and the Saints didn't.
We talked about the turnovers and winning that turnover battle, and there were so many. There was one on special teams as well when J.T. Gray blocked a punt. And they came up with a huge opportunity there, unable to capitalize on those turnovers. But let's go ahead and hear from quarterback Derek Carr.
I was fine. Yeah, I just need a minute, but I'm good. I think they did a good job mixing up their fronts. They had a lot of dudes on line scrimmage. Really sold out to try and stop the run, and they did a good job. You have to give credit to them. They made more plays than we did. We as an offense, I start with myself. I wasn't, perfect, in all of my stuff. And you go back, you got to correct it. But you knew adversity would happen at some point. It's not going to be that easy all the time. And so, for us, it's a great opportunity. You get hit in the mouth. And with that said, I thought we responded. To a tough, gritty game. It wasn't all just bombs and this kind of stuff. We had to grind it out a little bit and still make plays at the end and all that kind of stuff. And then at the very end, they made one more play than we did. And that's how this game goes sometimes. But there's no discouragement or anything like that. You're pissed because you lost. You're mad at that. You want to win all these games. But end of the day, we played a really good football team, and we knew what type of team they were. You turn the film on, everyone talks about whatever. That didn't even matter. You turn the film on, and we knew what we were going to get ourselves into. And so. It was a grind, but they made more plays than we did. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, especially for communication and things like that. But I thought Lucas did a fantastic job. He's a veteran, super smart. He's been in the system, in different varieties. And so I thought he did a great job. But, I always say anytime you lose anybody, on a football team, you never can just replace them. They bring a certain role and they bring a certain, piece of the puzzle, but it's always next man up, and I thought those guys battled. I thought they did a great job of battling against one of the better fronts in our league.
Was there any component of this that they had 2 games of your offense on tape, but they had more to study and were maybe a little bit more ready for you guys than in the first 2 weeks?
It could be, yeah. Anytime that's throughout the season, and there's different, ebbs and flows of that, coaches switching things and changing things and all of that. But I thought, again, you got to give credit, to their players and to their coaches. They beat us today, and as players and coaches, we take that personal, But we still believe, we know we're a good football team, and the belief is, so strong in that room. Disappointed because we we want it real bad, and we really believed that we were going to pull that one out, but we didn't. And so for us, it's about staying positive, but making the corrections that we have to make, and working on it during this week.
How close was that one to Shaheed, did you feel like, in the front of the end zone?
Early, like first half?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was close, but he's made so many of those plays for me, and I'm going to keep throwing them, whenever he gets an opportunity. I trust my receiver so much, and so yeah, it was close, but that's football sometimes.
Derek, what happened on the interception?
Yeah, at the very end, someone just came free, and in that situation, a sack is terrible, and I was trying to just make a tight throw, hopefully that he would look, for me, as I was getting hit. And so, again, I wish I just, tried to skip it or whatever, get to the next play. But in that situation with the clock and how many yards, we needed to get, I tried to make that play for our team, and I didn't. And, I tried to stand in there and make a throw, and they ended up making a play.
First several weeks of the season, a lot of feeling out. You guys are still getting used to a new system. What do you think you guys can learn about yourselves from?
Oh, man, this is a great opportunity for us to come in tomorrow and see if we bring that same energy that we've been bringing, and but bring it to some more corrections, right? Bring it into some things that, everyone's going to look at this tape, and it's going to hurt, man, because you're going to see things, man, what the heck did I do there? Why did I do that, And again, I say it, but that's football. And, the teams that continue over this long race continue to improve. It's a race to see who can improve the most towards the end. And it's a great opportunity for us to look at some different fronts that we hadn't seen this year, and to see some different kind of, games and different kind of routes, different kind of throws for me, coverage, all that. And for me to be better, than I was the last time. And so, my commitment to my team and to this organization is to, be hard on myself and, push our guys in the same way, that we look at it, just like we looked at it after a win. You're hard on each other. Got to be hard on each other, especially after this loss, so we can be better.
How much of not having the run game be as successful as it was kind of like factor?
Yeah, I mean they did a good job, and they did we had some good runs, and we still were able to make some adjustments and have some really good runs. And I thought in the pass game too, there were some play actions and stuff that were good, and I don't want to over do it. I thought we Coach Gruden always told me we didn't lose, we just ran out of time. But they beat us today, and we ran out of time on that one. So I thought we were making good adjustments. I thought we started moving the ball well. So my confidence is high and all that. So anytime you don't start off hot, it's always a grind a little bit. But I thought we handled it well.
What did you see to Olave just to go ahead?
A touchdown. Cover zero. They had the safety matched up on Chris, and for us that's a great matchup, and just throwing it to my spot, and he ran it down like he always does and made that play.
Derek, what did you think of the crowd?
It was electric. That was a playoff atmosphere. I've only got to play in one of those, but it felt like that, and so that was amazing. We need them all year, because that's such an advantage for us. And so, the fans were fantastic. That was awesome, and hopefully make these corrections, give them some more stuff to cheer about.
Derek, what is just the emotional swing like go ahead like that?
Yeah.
And then later you're down, you have to go back out on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's easy to do this, but in this game, most of these games, mostly every time, it comes down to one possession, and you score and there's time on the clock. The other team always has a chance, and so, for me, I've tried my best to just try and stay even kill. Obviously, you're excited, and when they score, it's like you guys stay still ready to go. Make your next read and make the next throw, and so it really is a microcosm of what a football season is like. You gotta stay like this. You gotta trust your process, keep working, and you gotta enjoy the process too.
How much did losing McCoy affect you?
I mean, again, anytime you lose anybody on a football team, you don't just replace somebody. They bring a certain gift, and they bring a certain talent and ability, leadership. But with that said, I thought Lucas did a great job. Again, I get work with him too during the week, just in case something like this ever happens. And so you lose a guy like Eric, it hurts. He's a captain, he's a leader, of our football team. So it hurts, but and we all know that again, football, that stuff happens all the time. It's next man up, and you got to be able to pick right back up, and the expectation doesn't change. And so, but I thought Lucas did a fantastic job of really listening to him communicate, to the young guys and stuff, new guys coming in and out when C's went out, all that. Just watching him communicate, he's a true pro, he's a true leader, and I'm glad we have him.
Talk to me about your tattoo on your arm that says Jeremiah 29:11. And I know that you went through a lot during the offseason, especially with everything that's going on. How has your faith just grown as the offseason has gone on?
Yeah, I got this tattoo, when my grandpa had brain cancer. He was a pastor for like over 40 years at the same church. And, he told me on his, when he was dying, he wrote Jeremiah 29:11 up on his board. He told his kids, don't ever forget it. And, for me, in that moment, he's sitting there, dying of brain cancer. And he tells us that, he said, God is real. Don't think just because I'm sitting here that he's not real. Just because I'm going through this, don't let the world tell you, what your rational eyes can see, that he's not real. And so it just means something to me, for a lot of reasons, obviously. But my faith is what I hold on to, through the amazing touchdowns and the fun and the fines, and also, in the hard times. And I just try and stay even keel. I go home and try and be a great husband. Go home and try and be the best dad that I can be, because that's what God's calling me to do. And then come in tomorrow and be the best quarterback I can be, and leader. And so, I try my best to do it. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm trying my best. Appreciate you, man. Good. Thank y'all.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Hats off to those guys. They made the plays, when it mattered the most. You know what I mean? And you could play great defense for 55 minutes, and 5 minutes it could kind of get away from you. And so, we'll learn from it. It's still early. We're still confident, in what we can do. But hats off to those guys. They executed, in those moments.
What happened on the one to Goddard, the one in the fourth quarter before the last touchdown from across?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations where, listen, we're a man-to-man defense. It doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 90 or 3rd and 3. Like, we believe in us. And, like I said, hats off to those guys. They executed. Clearly they practiced, like that particular play because we got that exact play, maybe 3 or 4 times. And, I missed one tackle, and then the next time, we got 3 or 4 guys running into each other. And so hats off to those guys. They executed, in a critical moment.
What do you think it does to experience some adversity?
Excuse me? I can't hear you.
What do you think it does to experience adversity?
Man, adversity is like a builder of life. You cannot go through life and expect great things without hiccups, without setbacks, without adversity. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks. We pour our heart into the game. We sacrifice a lot to get to Sunday, and we want to be able to win, not just for us, but for everybody. And so it doesn't always go your way, but the positive is that, it's a lot of great teams, a lot of great people that wouldn't be great without hard times. And so, yeah, we got another game next week, division game. So, we can't soak, in this, too long.
How difficult is it to contain Jalen Hurts? You got him 4 times.
I mean, he's an athlete. You see it, year after year. A lot of guys come into this league at the quarterback position that's, a few of them are much more than, quarterbacks. They're great athletes. And, obviously his team believes in him. He believes in himself. And, he's played in a lot of big football games, So hats off to those guys. Like I said, they executed in the most critical moments, of the game. And, yeah, it hurts. It sucks. You know what I mean? But it's a part of it.
I know sudden change was a big part of today's game. I know you guys made some mistakes early on, but you get big stops along the way, especially in the red zone. How have you guys improved on that, especially with practice from this past week? How do you continue to improve on that this week?
Well, for us, man, we always want to be able to take the ball away. and, try our best to really, limit teams to 3, when they get to the red zone. It doesn't always go our way. But, yeah, I mean, outside of, a couple, third downs, I thought we played hard. I thought we played fast. And there was just a couple moments within the game where, we kind of broke down, as a defense. And we'll learn from it. I'm sure our coaches will learn from it. I think us as players will learn from it. And we'll be ready for Atlanta next week.
On the Barkley run, is there anything you saw that
I mean, we were in cover 0. I mean, they blocked it up pretty well. He kind of cut back to the left, and there was nobody there. The pressure was coming from the left side, so he didn't really have a second and third level to beat. It was just like once he got past the first level, it was, it's like off to the races. And so great play by him, great vision by him. But, yeah, obviously we want to make that play, want to make that tackle, but, he made a great play, he made a great move.
Did y'all just overrun on the Barkley run, or was it something that
The touchdown?
Yeah.
Nobody overran it. We were blitzing from the left. He got the ball, cut back to the left, and nobody was there. They ran bubble slant to the field, so all those guys are in man-to-man, so they following their man. And once he rolled off the tackle, it's just paint. All he sees is end zone. You know what I mean?
Looks like there was some jawing, going back and forth later in the game.
Yeah.
Something that developed.
Well, obviously, man, it's an intense game. You know what I mean? And emotions get high, and obviously, it was a 1-point game for a while there, and I think defensively, man, obviously we wanna defend our home field. You know what I mean? But obviously, me and Lat, we should never, go to those guys, sideline. So we'll learn from that. It happens to all of us where emotions kind of get the best of us, but didn't really hear much from those guys all game, until they went up at the end. So. Just be looking forward to playing against those guys again, hopefully. Appreciate it.
Thank God.
Locker room still open.
That was quarterback Derek Carr and safety Tyran Mathieu speaking after this loss here. And I think Carr said some poignant things. He said he's not discouraged by what this team can do and their capabilities. He said he was upset, rightfully so. They did get the loss here. But looking forward, you have the game against the Falcons next in Atlanta. What are some of the things that you are encouraged by in this game?
Well, I think, first of all, Philadelphia, you saw more of what Philadelphia truly is today than you saw in the first 2 weeks. Philadelphia's a good team. They're going to be in the hunt for the NFC East. There's no doubt in my mind. They're a playoff caliber team. I know they were missing A.J. Brown, so you like to capitalize on those things. I think that's what hurts the most if you're a Saints fan or a player or a coach is you didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were presented in this game. So you almost feel like you dropped one. You almost feel like you left one. But now, to your point, it's a long season, and now you get to get back into a divisional opponent, a divisional race, your hated rival. But there's no doubt about it. You have 2 weeks. You have on the road at Atlanta and at the defending world champions of the Chiefs. So there's a lot that can change in the next 2 weeks of your season. But I think the most important thing for this group of guys is believe that you're still that team that was 2-0. Mm-hmm. You dropped one today, but don't think, oh, here we go. We're the 2023 Saints. Maybe those first 2 games were flukes. As a player, you can't let that mental part of it enter into your mind because you have to believe that you're still that 2-0 team.
A lot of people talked about maybe the Saints kind of riding that hype train going into this game and not coming in with the focus they needed to. I think it was more the injury to center Eric McCoy that had an effect on things and the fact that they didn't have tight end Taysom Hill available as well. How big of a factor do you think that was?
Yeah, anytime you miss, first of all, coming into today's game, not having Taysom just creates so much pressure on a defense. Defensive coordinator and their players were doing jumping jacks and celebrating before the game because now with Seven's not on the field, you can do so many more things because his versatility isn't out there. But I think early in this game when you saw Eric down on the field, and obviously he wasn't able to come back into the game with a groin injury. Hopefully it's not too long of an injury, but that's your leader. That's your leader in the center of your line. And Derek talked about how important he is to their team. And there's not a whole lot of teams in the NFL who could lose a guy like Eric McCoy at the center position and still hold up and play as well as they did. I thought Patrick did a great job today. There were just things that it was more about the Eagles. You have to give the Eagles credit. They're guys who hadn't showed up all year showed up, especially in the middle of their defense.
Yeah, I mean, their defensive line, they have a lot of playmakers there, and they've spent a lot of money on that position, and it definitely showed up today. Defensively for the Saints, however, there were some really good moments. They came up with big plays. Again, a lot of takeaways in this one. For the Saints defensively, what are they going to take out of this game, and maybe some things they need to improve on?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. There's no doubt for the majority of the game, 3/4 of this game, you were a suffocating, dominant defense. You really played well. If you look back in the box score now, you're going to see Hurts over 300 yards and Saquon over 150, and the tight end had 170 yards catching. So the box score is not going to be kind to the Saints in the meeting room.
But it doesn't tell the story,
It truly doesn't tell the story, because even with those numbers, still 15 points, you should be able to win games like that. I think defensively, you have to know it's a copycat league. You struggled today with the undercrossers, the low drag routes, a lot of pick routes we were running into each other. Atlanta's going to run it. The Chiefs are going to run it. Everybody's going to copy it. So if you don't fix it, you're going to get more of it. I think that's the biggest thing. You have to correct those things that they were picking on you with today. If you do those things, you're a good enough defense, you can bounce back.
How concerned are you with the way that tight end Dallas Goedert was able to get going in this one, and maybe the way Saints need to play tight ends going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, coming into this game, I was concerned about Jalen Hurts' legs, because in the past, running quarterbacks against a traditional man-to-man defense, you have your back to him and he runs around. So I thought if you held Jalen under 65, 75 yards a day, you'd have a lot of success. But to your point, in the past, because you play a lot of man, you're getting linebackers and safeties on talented tight ends. And I would have liked to see maybe a little more double team on him today, especially with A.J. Brown out. If A.J. Brown's out there, you have to let the tight end work the middle of the field. But there's no doubt. You got Pitts next week, and then you got Travis Kelce. You better learn how to put two guys in a bracket coverage on a tight end, because you're going to get a lot of interior throws on your guys.
All right, well, you get your notes together. Send it over to Dennis Allen, because they might need some help. He can help with the coverage there.
Dennis is going to say, well, you thought you could do it, and we had to help you. So Dennis would take a shot at me. I know how these guys do. I was in the meeting room with them for too long. But it's certainly not, we don't have the players to cover these guys. It's more about the guys. It's about Goddard's an extremely talented tight end. He's a top 3 tight end in the league, unheralded. It's just that middle of the field is tough, and if you can bracket those guys, because we have corners on the outside who can play one-on-one. So I truly believe you can take the middle of the field away more than you did today.
Yeah, a tough loss here for the Saints as they fall 15-12 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Unfortunately, go to 2-1 on the season. But there are a lot of good things that we can take out of this one. There will be a lot of corrections that they can make this week as they get ready to head up to Atlanta to face the Falcons for their second divisional game, first game against the Falcons. All right. For John DeShazer, who is in the locker room still, I'm sure, Scott Shanley, I'm Erin Summers. Thank you for joining us for the Saints postgame.
4-man rush, given time into the end zone, picked off. Tyran Mathieu, turnover machine. Hurts looking long. Pressure from behind. Ball is out. The Saints have it. Granderson forced it, and Willie Gay recovered. 3 out of 5 doing this so far this year. Oh, they got a little fake. It's Barkley out the back door, not gonna get it. Chase Young comes up with a stop. Hurts in trouble, sacked. Brian Brzee ends the drive.
Blitz and bailing out, dropping 8.
And a block punt. J.T. Gray, special teams ace, strikes again. Carr lofting for Olave. Touchdown, New Orleans. Saints take the lead.